and I am recording for JoJo, and this is the Thursday night Empowering Women's Call. And I know this evening we have the beautiful Laura giving us some knowledge, so I'm super excited to hear what she has to share.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, so you might be wondering a little bit about me and who I am. So I want to tell you a little bit about myself. I worked for Johnson & Johnson for about 18 years. And in that role, I was a salesperson. I worked one-on-one with physicians. I worked with hospital systems. I worked with managed care. I worked with all kinds of people. And I also had the gift of being a manager. So I managed people as well. And so throughout my career, I went through a lot of training and development. And the one class that I really loved was called Social Styles and Versatility. And I loved this class so much that it had such an impact on me, just not for my professional life. It was huge for that, but for my personal life. And so when I left J&J, I actually went and worked for this company and got certified in training this. And so I actually trained social styles. I'd go to clients and I was in the classroom and teaching them about how do we effectively work with other people? How do we effectively build relationships quicker? How do we effectively build trust? Because that's really what it's all about. And you can do that from the business standpoint, but it's also just personally. And so I just loved doing that. And it's just really is just such a gift to have the opportunity to share about it tonight. So we're going to do a two-part series. We're going to talk today about one component, and then next week or subsequent week, we'll talk about the secondary component, because I'm shoving in 2 days of classroom training into 60 minutes, basically, 30 minutes tonight, 30 minutes another night. But with that said, I do have some slides that I want to share with you to kind of help guide us through our discussion. And I know that I'm a visual person, so when I see things, they stick with me. So feel free to take notes, but I can also load these in our Facebook group as well, so you can have these slides, all right? So I'm just going to get to it and talk about what I just find so fascinating and what I find so helpful for our personal and professional lives. I've got a couple things up here, so just bear with me. Let me get my slides here. Okay. So when I screen share, I just want to let you all know that I can't see you and I can't see chat. So if someone needs to, it's something with my computer, if someone needs to speak, please just speak up, unmute yourself and speak up, okay? So we're going to start here. And the course that I taught was Building Relationship Versatility Social Styles. And versatility is basically being versatile, right? We adapt our own behaviors to meet the expectations of others to help create productive relationships. And again, this can be personal or professional, either one of those. So does anyone want to share maybe what you think the benefit of being more versatile would be? Like maybe one thing.
Well, it gives you the ability to connect with that other individual, right?
Mm-hmm.
To find common ground.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And exactly. So it increases our influence with people and the motivation of others. It allows us to help gain commitment to our ideas instead of people just feeling like they have to do it, right? We want people to be committed because they trust us, right? It helps collaboration on teams, and it helps our effectiveness and productivity with better business results or just relationships as well. So that's why this is so important to me. And again, this was huge to me because quite frankly, I understood my husband a heck of a lot more after I went through this training. And it truly is, we can understand social style. So a couple weeks ago, we had a great presenter on this call, and she talks about the colors and the styles. And that's so important that we all understand that. But it's also so important that, once we understand styles, what do we do with that? So tonight we're going to talk about identifying a person's social style. This person is what? And then in our next call, we're going to dig into, based on that social style, how do they need me to flex myself to interact so they're more comfortable? Not change myself, but what do I need to do to be proactive to flex a little bit so they're comfortable with how I'm giving them information or how I'm trying to influence them? And then obviously, how do we modify that? So tonight we're really going to talk about identifying it. So we're going to talk about 2 behavioral dimensions, assertiveness and responsiveness, and the 4 clusters. So, we've learned a lot of different ways you can look at people in colors and different things. And these are just a different name for things, but it's that 4 styles. And we all fit in one of those buckets where we personally are most comfortable. Okay, so the premise of social styles, and I think this is really interesting, is that we all understand we're all creatures of habit, right? Isn't that true? And we're all different. I mean, we are all created so amazing, and we are all created so unique. And so, but what happens sometimes is that these habits that we have, people can make judgments on them. And so the beauty behind social styles is we focus on people's behaviors, and that allows us to avoid any judgments that we have in understanding what others need to work effectively with us. So if we understand their kind of behaviors and we can flex to that, then they in turn will not maybe make a judgment about us that might not even be true, just on the way that we behave, because we're all very different. And we'll walk through that. So it's really because all we can do when we meet someone for the first, second, third, sometimes fourth time, is we really only can see what we observe, right? So we focus on the how do people speak? What is their tone? Do they talk fast? Do they use a lot of body language? I use a lot of body language, as you can see on the screen. That is how I am. I talk, I gesture, I use a lot of words, sometimes words I don't even need to use, but I use them, right? So that's how I operate. And that's what you can observe from me. But nobody knows what's really going on inside of me. So I could be having all this visual excitement, and on the inside, I could have that same feeling, opinion, excitement as someone who might not be animated like me, right? But I could look at someone who's not animated like me and say, well, they're not very excited about it, but that's really just their style. And that's the key behind social styles, is that we don't know what's on the inside of people, but we will get there quicker. We'll dig into those thoughts. We'll dig into those feelings. We'll dig into their personal opinions if we can open that door quicker. Hopefully that makes sense. You think about it, we're all books, right? So we're a book. This is our book cover. We read the book cover. We know a little bit about that book cover, and we kind of understand what we think the book is like. But everything inside of us are the chapters of that book. That's the chapters, that's the meat, that's what we're all about. If we can make people comfortable quicker, and we can understand how they need to work, then that relationship can just flourish. So it's really, really cool that we can make ourselves aware of how we can do this. So we focus on our outside behavior. So we look at 2 components, is your assertiveness and your responsiveness. Right? So we're going to look at these 2 areas. So assertiveness is how we want to influence someone. People have a different way of how they feel they should influence people. And so if you look at this graph, you see either people are kind of on one end, they're more ask directed, or they're tell directed. And so their approach to people, like an ask directed person would be something like, it might be a good idea if we take out the garbage so it won't smell. A direct approach, a tell-directed person would say, let's take out the garbage so it won't smell. Or take out the garbage, it won't smell in here. Does that make sense? So indirect, and sometimes an indirect approach might be, everyone will be, the house isn't going to smell, and I'd really appreciate it if we would take out the garbage. That's so indirect, right? And I know my kids, actually, I'm indirect. I'll tell you, I'll come out. My kids are direct. They're like, so do you want me to take it out or not? Just tell me if you want me to take out the garbage. Because I'm using my style, I'm not using what they need. Conditional statements, a declarative statement would be something like, we need to take out the garbage. We need to do that. Conditional is, we probably should take out the garbage. I'm thinking we should. Questions, people who are ask directed ask more questions. Tell directed, they ask fewer questions. The pace is slower if you're ask directed. If you're tell directed, you talk a little faster. Interruptions, ask directed people tend to listen a little bit better and don't interrupt. Tell directed people interrupt many times because they want to get to the point, right? And it's not bad. None of these things are bad. They're just different. And I think that that's what's important for everyone to know. The volume, quieter versus louder. Eye contact, ask directed, is less direct eye contact. So we're looking at that one. So it's ask directed, tell directed. So that's your assertiveness. How are you trying to influence someone? Decisions. That's a big one. Tell directed, they respond quickly. Ask directed, they take a lot of time to make that decision. But now, so that you have your assertiveness. So now we have our responsiveness, and that's how the person is perceived in expressing their feelings when relating to others. So there's task directed and people directed. So if you think about it, the task directed people, they're facts first, relationships second. So those are the people that when you meet with, if you're meeting for a purpose, you need to get to that purpose. Right? Hey, I want to talk to you about this new meetup group I'm in. Here are the good things about the meetup group. Versus the people-directed person would be like, hey, tell me about your kids. Tell me about your family. So you're more relationship first. I'm a relationship person. I have had to learn in my communication on emails, in my communication on voicemails, in my communication on all those things that a lot of people don't want to hear, how are you? I hope you're having a great day. They want to hear, I'm calling because X, Y, Z. And by the way, how are you doing? I hope you're having a great day. The task people want relationship. They just want facts first. Make sense? Gestures speak for themselves. The tones speak for themselves. Feelings speak for themselves. Facial expressions. As you can tell, I use a lot of facial expressions, so you can kind of see where I sit. And decision-making, huge thing. Task-directed, objective, logic, facts. Many times the people-directed, it's intuition. They rely on their intuition, how they're feeling about things. They're more subjective. They'll take the logic, they'll take that in part of their decision, but that's not the main reason they'll make a decision or the main prompt. Does that make sense? So these two collide then, right? Whoops, I moved back there a little bit. So then our two axes collide and they go into our 4 social styles. So as you can see, we have our task directed at the top and the people directed at the bottom, and your ask directed on the left and the tell directed on the right. So then you have these 4 quadrants, right? And I know some of you have done some other type of training on social styles, but I'm just going to walk through what they all look like. So that driver, they're focused on task first. And they're going to tell you things. That's like Nike, just do it. Let's just get it done. I've already looked at my options and this is what I want to do. After we do that, let's go have fun. Let's talk. Let's have a great time. But we got to get to this done first. The analytical people, they want to make sure that every I is dotted, every T is crossed, that they walk through the process and they understand everything that's going to happen when making this decision. So I managed a woman who was analytical, and I'm not there. I'll tell you where I am. And so I had to learn like that, okay, this is how she needs information. And what was actually really interesting, the person before her was kind of the same style I am, and he was trying to get her out of the company, but he didn't understand what she needed. So once my boss and I figured that out, we ended up getting her actually promoted into a research position because we understood her style. And I truly believe it's because of this class that we were able to manage her to her strengths. It's not about me, it's about the class, and I had a great boss that helped me do it, not about me. The amiable style, those people, they just want everyone included. Everyone's got to feel good about the decision. Right? We've got to feel good. We're people directed. We've got to feel good about the decision. We want to poll everyone to make sure that everyone's good with this. Expressive, brainstormers. People who want to get it done, right? So they want to get it done. They're more loud. They're gestured. Can you tell what I am? And sometimes the clock doesn't matter. As long as we get to that great answer, the clock doesn't matter, because we have a whole bunch of ideas that we're going to express and we're going to talk about, and we're going to go down this road and that road and the other road, but we're going to get there and we're going to have fun at the same time. I'm an expressive, so that's what I am. However, what we're going to learn tonight is we don't grade ourselves in social styles. You know how many times in these courses you do your own self-assessment? Other people are going to do a self-assessment. You have some homework tonight, by the way. So you're going to have other people look at you. So that's really the 4 social styles. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to show you a video. And we're going to look at different social styles based on behaviors. So I want you to think in your mind these dimensions that we looked at, right? And then I want you to look at assertiveness. What's the pace? What is their voice like? What's their body language like? What's their focus like? And I don't want us to guess. So what we're going to do is I'm going to play. It's only a 2.5-minute video. So I'm going to stop it because there's going to be 4 groups of people. I'm going to stop it, and then we're going to talk about what each person is. Does that sound good? Mm-hmm. Okay. So here we go. Sorry about the screen changing. Okay. I'm going to bring it down so I can see you. Is that okay? I want to be able to see everybody. Okay. So we're going to look at what the man is and what the woman is.
I have got the most brilliant idea for the day out. You wouldn't believe. My mate has told me about this place called Adrenaline Quarry. Adrenaline Quarry, right? Bungee jumping, helicopter riding, hovercrafting, cheap as chips. Brilliant. We can all do it. It'd be fantastic.
So, whoa, hang on. Have you asked anybody else?
Yeah, but they'll be fine.
I don't like that sort of thing.
No. Look, once you get up there and you just let it all go, you'll be fine. It'll be brilliant.
No, listen, that's a bit risky to me.
No. There's harnesses, there's health and safety, there's everything. It'll be great.
I'd like to do some research. Give me a couple of days.
Yeah, but
I'll go online, see what they're like. Maybe even go do a visit.
No, you don't need to do any research. Look,
Well, how
I've
much
got all the figures you need. It's about 30 quid a head. That's all it is.
Is that including food and transport?
No, but we don't. You know, we can just pick up a bit of lunch on the way there. We can just grab a bit of lunch.
Which means everybody will get there late.
No. Okay, we'll take a packed lunch then.
Okay. So remember our styles. We have driver, amiable, analytical, and expressive. What do you think the man was?
I think he was analytical.
Why is that?
Well, because he kept asking her questions, and he's like, "Wait, well, hold on. What are we doing? Wait, okay,
Yep.
so we're doing this. Okay. So everybody's gonna get there late, like, yeah."
And he said he needed to do research, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What was the lady?
Didn't see the video.
Yeah, we couldn't see the video. We could only see the No, we could only see the style identification guidelines, but we could hear them.
Okay, hold on. Let me do something. Hold on. Can you see it now?
No.
Okay.
It's trying to move off the screen, Laura.
That's okay. At least you can hear it. Hold on. Let's see.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to stop share and I'm going to share again. Can you see it now?
Yes.
Yes, now we can see it.
All right. Well, that was good, Anna, to be able to do that just by voice. So what do you think the lady was? You could hear her, though. So this is a good test because you're listening.
Assertive.
So she was assertive.
Ooh.
I think she was expressive.
She's expressive, right? Because she wasn't worried about the details. She was very assertive in her approach, right? And she just was like, "Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. We'll pick up something on the way," right? Okay, I'm so glad you guys can see this now. So I apologize about that. Okay, so here's the next one.
Hi, right. I've got about 10 minutes. If we can get this sorted in terms of the day out. So I've done a bit of research, and as I said, we've got a few options. So I've kind of discounted quite a few things. So I was thinking basically there's this setup called aping around. We could do that. It's basically where you go sort of high wires through the forest, that kind of thing. Or paintballing. So those are the two that I thought would be quite good to sort of get going with.
Okay, nice ideas. Just one thing. We've got George in accounts who definitely can't get anywhere high or run. And Sheila from Goods Inn is not really too great either.
Yeah, but quite honestly, Sheila wouldn't want to do anything anyway, would she? No matter what we come up with, she won't be interested.
What'd you think? What was the woman who came in and sat down and said, I've got about 10 minutes? So she was a driver.
A driver.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally driver, because she had her agenda. She cared just as much about that event that she was planning, but she's like, you know what? Here's what we should do. Let's just get this done. These are the things we need to do. Like, let's get to that task. And so she cared about it. She just presented it in a different way. And I think that that's the big thing that I take away from this, because if I'm the lady sitting on the other side, I might think that she's being a little strong, right? But that's just her style. They both care equally. So what was the other woman? What was she?
Amiable.
She was amiable. Awesome.
Very.
Because she was talking about these other people and including them, and they wouldn't, do that. But the driver, she's like, well, I've got these ideas. Let's just do it. Let's move forward. We'll figure out that other person later, right? Okay. Good job, girls.
Right. My view is that we need to make sure that every I is dotted and T crossed to make sure that we spend the money wisely.
Let it go.
Mm-hmm.
Well, things, this
Impressive.
we just want to give them a real good experience. We want to just give them a gift. How about giving them a nice gift to remember the day?
You might love that.
Boy, walking away with a nice little memory. Something
Oh, I need to think about that, because that's on top of the spend, isn't it?
Spend. We'll get that back many, many times. They will love us. They will work overtime. They'll be totally committed.
How do we know? We need to know.
So I think we already said it, right? Analytical and what?
Expressive.
Expressive.
So I think it's so great to just kind of look at it and actually see those behaviors. I think it helps me bring things more to life of what does that really look like. And so that's why I love to show it. And I know that they had accents, but I love their accents. And they were the best videos that I could find at this point. And are you okay if I just share a little story with you?
Mm-hmm.
So after I first went to this class, I realized that I'm an expressive, and my husband is a driving analytical. So he's a driver, but he's got analytical tendencies. So expressives like to tell stories, just like I said, can I share a story? And drivers really sometimes don't need all that detail, right? Mm-hmm. And so for our marriage, it's been great because I'll say, would you like the short version or the long version? Which one do you want? And so he'll be like, you can give me details. That's fine. And so I think that it really is a huge learning, because especially with whatever we do in our life, whenever we're part of groups, just understanding and reading other people will help us make them more comfortable, because you don't want to be that person that everyone's eyes glaze over, right? But then you also don't want to be that person that people think you're not listening, right? So it's how do we flex to those people? And so that's really what we're going to do on the next call is we're going to talk about reflecting on these styles, and then how do we modify our behaviors? And there's just little tweaks that we can do. But what's really cool is I'm going to load up into the files on the Empowering Women is a quiz. And I challenge you to give that quiz to 6 people in your life. Preferably people you don't live with, maybe friends, or maybe someone like in your mommy group, or someone that you work with. And the reason why you give it to other people is because sometimes we don't see ourselves as we are. And it's incredible. So when I did this training, people would send out surveys, and their results would come back, and sometimes they'd be like, "That I'm not an analytical," because for some reason they didn't want to be seen as someone that had to have all the details, or I'm not a driver. or I'm not an amiable because amiables care too much about people, right? So it's important to know that, number one, is because we want to know how people see us, because that's what's the most important is, because if they see how we see our own behaviors in the mirror, and then we can help flex our behaviors to others. And I will tell you that because I went through this training before I became a trainer, and I had multiple different jobs at J&J, at Johnson & Johnson, that I had this assessment done 3 times and by different people. And every single time I was the same, which is incredible, right? And so I want to find this grid. So what we'll see is there's actually sub-quadrants that we have. So you might say that, I'm an expressive, but I really do like a lot of data. I do like data. So you might be an expressive analytical. So we all have a little piece. I'm an expressive, which is I'm kind of off the charts there. But so everybody you might have other tendencies, and in different times in your day or in your life, we sometimes float around these different boxes. There are situations where I am a driver. And there are situations where I'm an analytical because I need to do that for a certain role that I'm in. However, there is one place that we call home, and one place that we are most comfortable in. And so that's what we're going to discover, is how do other people see us. So I challenge you all to do that. And the last page of this quiz that you have, it'll take them like 5 minutes to do, is an answer key. And you can go in and you can plot it out, and then you can see what you are. And I would just welcome everyone to bring back what we are to the group on the next time that we have this call. But with that said, that is all I have tonight, unless we have any questions.
That was awesome. Thanks so much for sharing, Laura.
Thank you.
And I love learning, because we learn about these, like we do the color codes and the tendencies and the all of these things. It just helps us to learn how to better relate with other people, and like you said, not change who we are in order to become something that we're not, so that we can relate with somebody else, but to be able to adapt and flow with them. And so that that they're not coming from it's just, like a driver could sometimes be considered bossy, right? Mm-hmm. Oh, they're just always telling you what to do. And it's not, they're very task oriented. And so, okay, we have to get this, we have to do this, we have to, and so when you look at it from that way, you realize that it's not a personal attack against you. It's just how they are. And so you can adapt and you can flow with it. And it just makes life so much easier.
It does. And okay, I'll share one more quick story. I had this woman who actually ended up being my favorite boss ever in my life. And I worked for her for 7 years. When I met her, I was scared to death of her because she was a driver. Not a lot of facial expressions to them. I was scared to death of her. And she is the most kind, most loving, most supportive boss I had ever had. But it was my initial impression, right? And so, and I didn't know all this social stuff then. So I just thought she was mean at first, and she wasn't. So it just, those assumptions that we make. So anyway, but that's it. But this has been.
It's funny because I think my husband's a driver analytical.
Oh yeah. That's mine right there. Yeah. Asking me questions all the time. He wants to know his data, and I'm like, who cares? Who cares about the data?
Me too. Right? Yes.
So it's been a true gift to share this, because I honestly, it's one of my favorite things to talk about. And I always learn every time I share, I learn more. So thank you again.
Thank you, Laura. It was so helpful. It was wonderful. I'm just thinking about like next Thursday morning. And so I'll text you information so you can come and join us.
That'd be great.
Yes.
That'd be great. Thank you.
Awesome.
Take care.
Thank you, ladies. Have a wonderful evening. Bye-bye.
Lovely job, Anna.
Thanks.
I was going to do the intro, and I thought, hey, Anna did it. That's lovely. Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry. You were supposed to do the intro. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Sorry.
It's all good. See, there it is.
I guess that was the driver in me.
You're the driver. And
she just wanted to get it done.
Right.
There you
Take care
go.
of it.
Because usually I'm the one sitting, I start the call and then I'm the one sitting back and everybody's waiting for me to do something. And I'm like, oh. All right, ladies, have a wonderful evening.
Great. Thank you for taking the
too.
lead.
Thank
Anna,
you.
You.
that personality
night.
was charming.
Aw. Thanks. Bye.
You're welcome.
Thank you.